Hey guys, we are coming up to 1,000 videos on the channel, and I've got a message for sports card YouTube content creators I want to talk about. Stick around. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends, my content creator friends. Thank you very much for joining me here today.
I feel pretty good too. I think I finally got some sleep. I don't know why, I just feel pretty good.
Hey, if you have not subscribed, you're looking for daily content type stuff in the sports card collectibles realm, you have come to the right place. Please don't forget to hit the big red subscribe button down below, as well as the like button if you do like what you hear. Also connect with me on IG at SportsCardDad, and I'm also on Twitter, the Sports Card Dad. Big thanks as always to channel partner ComC.com, your home for buying, selling, and flipping all the hottest trading cards. Their consignment marketplace is home to over 29 million cards across all sports genres and eras. With a ComC.com account, you can purchase cards from different sellers over time and then also ship them home together later or immediately reprice them for sale on the ComC marketplace. Check out the deals on ComC.com. All right, we are sitting at right about 955, 960 videos on the channel. Started March 22nd, 2020 is when I started my YouTube adventure. It's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of things that have been great and then a lot of things that have been okay, some not so great. But it's all in all, it's been a really positive experience. I want to just kind of talk through this a little bit, especially for people that are aspiring to become a content creator or ones that have already entered into the space, and just kind of talk through this a little bit. Also, I should say this is really kind of pertaining more towards YouTube. I'm still trying to figure out Instagram and Twitter and how to grow that space, slowly but surely kind of growing. And I guess some of that will tie in. Also, podcasting, not really sure how that all works. I don't know the ins and outs of podcasting and how downloads are counted and all that sort of thing. I'm just focused on YouTube at this point, so that's really what we're talking about here today. Over the weekend, I spent hours and hours in the airport. Unfortunately, my flights were being pushed back, and so I spent a lot of time by myself, and I was watching YouTube, and there was a really interesting video that popped up on my feed, and it was basically kind of like titled The Rise and Fall of a Video Game YouTube Channel. And I was like, that sounds really interesting. So as I'm watching it, it kind of details the beginnings of this particular channel, and it's almost 1 million subscribers now, but it started back in 2007, 2008, right as YouTube was getting going. I think 2006 was really the first year of YouTube, and then it took a really long time, years and years, for it to be something that people were watching a lot of, and then also, creating content for. It was a kind of a wasteland there for the first few years, and people were using it. I remember when I was using YouTube back in those days, it was always how-to stuff. It was like how to build this or how to fix the toilet or whatever, and that's where YouTube came in handy. But this is really before businesses started to take advantage of it to build out their business. So like, the local plumber using it to set up how-to videos so that they could market their business. The average business just wasn't using it for that purpose at all. So it was just kind of growing slowly. And even on the entertainment side, there was still not a lot. So this guy in particular, and then there was other channels like this where they started video game channels, and it would be entertaining type stuff where they're playing video games, hard video games, or complaining about it. This one in particular was doing news type videos and then also doing video game reviews. And the one thing that caught me again, and I thought this was really fascinating, is they were making consistent content really kind of almost every day, a few times a week. And it was taking years and years to build an audience. It talked about how there's a group of guys that had set up a company and they were really kind of doing it to, setting it up as a business. We're going to create content and eventually we can kind of monetize, maybe get sponsorships and use it also to just build our overall network in the gaming space. And, what was really interesting is they were putting out what I would consider to be pretty high quality content for 2007, 2008. They had their own thumbnails and that sort of thing. They were doing really all the right things, and it still was just taking a long time to build. And they talk about it's really kind of more of a passion project they were doing. It was a hobby then, it was a hobby, a passion project. They just really enjoyed it, but it was slow growth. They had kind of big aspirations for it, but I think that part right there is lost among most people, not really understanding if they're coming in and thinking that they're going to build out an audience fast or monetize or use it to promote, their own business or whatever the case may be. You really have to go into it with kind of lower expectations and understand that it's going to take a lot of work up front to really gain traction. And it doesn't matter if you're not interested in making any money from the channel. Everyone has a motive. Everybody has motivation to do this. Every single person I've talked to, they might say, I'm not into it to monetize or really make money from it. But there is something else. Once we dig deeper into what it is, it's maybe their own personal legacy. Hey, I didn't think I could really do this. I didn't think that I would be able to get on camera and be able to really do this. I found it to be fun and interesting. And I've seen people that are looking for influence or looking for clout. So they're not interested in necessarily making money, but they are looking to have that influence. They want to have influence over others. They kind of like that, I guess a little bit of the power there. Fine, that can be a motivation. But the big takeaway is there really are no shortcuts. I did a Google search. Now, granted, I've done these searches before, and you really get numbers that are all over the place, and really there's no way of really knowing. Every channel is different. The subject that you're making content on can mean that it's fairly easy to break into. Others can be very difficult to break into. It's kind of a catch-22, because if you're going to do a channel that is all about a very popular topic, it's going to have heavy competition on that particular subject, usually. Or if you're making something that's very niche that most people are not really interested in, then there might not be as much competition, but there's just not as many people searching for it that are watching it. So it's a catch-22. I think what happened with sports cards is you had a very niche subject that just happened to become very popular over the last few years. So, for those that did get in early or had started 10 years ago that, had continued on to make consistent content, they were rewarded as the sports card and collectibles markets really kind of took hold and built out. Their channels all of a sudden starting to get more traction. And again, it comes down to consistency of content. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to make content every day necessarily, but you have channels that if you make a video once a month, once every 3 months, but then you make like 5 videos over a week, but then you don't make another video for 2 months. I do think that plays into part of it. I did a Google search, and one of the results that came back was the average channel on YouTube, it takes 22 months to get to 1,000 subscribers. And again, I guess that's taking data from, a lot of different industries, different topics, etc. And so I think the key is it's really got to be a subject that you are very interested in talking about over a long period of time. That's why, with sports cards, with collectibles, it's a hobby for a lot of people. They love it. They've been doing it for a long time. They can talk cards for years. And so it does give an opportunity to where they're already in it. So why not talk about it and put it on YouTube? The other thing, and this is kind of the treasure hunt within YouTube. What I mean by treasure hunt is the elusive unicorn viral video. I have not found this yet, and I'll explain exactly what I'm talking about. So one of my hobby content creator friends, Brad, the Comeback Card Investor, he made a video maybe about a year and a half ago, Sports Card Investing 101, something. I'll put a picture up so you can kind of see which one I'm talking about. I think right now it's got 174,000 views lifetime. Now, I know from talking to him, he's told me like, hey, that one video got me anywhere between like 3,000 and 4,000 subscribers. So you think about that. I mean, that's one video that really gave him a 3,000 to 4,000 subscriber boost over time, because that's what happens. And that's one of the nice things about YouTube compared to some of the other platforms, including podcasting, frankly, is that these videos live on. They live on in search results. They're attached to Google. That lives on in Google search. So it's not even necessarily people searching on YouTube. When they're also searching something, google.com, they're going to get YouTube results. So you had the benefit of people being able to find it later. And that's exactly what happened with this video over the last 18 months. People just kept on finding it. It was a popular video, and so bam, it was a viral video that gave him a nice boost. And that's something, when I go back to that video game video that I was watching, kind of that rise fall video, that's exactly what happened with that guy. He was sitting there after 2 or 3 years maybe of making consistent content. He was at about 3,000 subscribers in 2010 or 11 or something like that. And then he had and it was something like how not to die in this particular video game. and it got like 200,000 views, and it moved his subscriber count up to about 25,000 subscribers. Think about that. That's amazing. It's going from 3,000 to 25,000, and then it just kind of built off of that. It gave him the motivation to start making more and more content. And that's what I want to say to people that are new in the space or thinking about starting a channel, is that's really the big thing is ramping up. And I'm not saying, again, you don't have to make 3 videos a day or anything like that. And the consistency doesn't matter if it's not taking hold with the audience. So it's a combination of, it's something that you really are passionate about talking about, but then also presented in a certain way where people are going to be interested in hearing about it and coming back for more. And that can be tricky. That's kind of that entertainment value part. And you just don't know how people are going to take that. You don't know what's going to be entertaining to certain people. You know, if you're looking at the demographics, I saw something, it's like 81 million people in the US are on YouTube. And, you know, the 20-year-old that's watching is going to have a different view of what they're watching than the 80-year-old potentially. You know, so you're never going to make anyone happy. I guess you're just hoping that you put something out that gets traction across all demographics. That's the hope. And so for me, I've never had a viral video like that. If I look at my channel, the most views I've ever had on one video, and we're counting almost 1,000 videos now, is 25,000 views. And I made it, I don't know, maybe a year ago or something about Panini and retail product and whatever. And I haven't had anything above that. And I've only had one other one that was 18,000, 17,000. I've had quite a few kind of in that 10 to 15,000 range, but for the most part, haven't really had any monster videos that have taken hold that have gotten me a lot of subscribers out of it. It's been a slow build on this channel. Slow build.
All this time, we've been building it.
So that's where I'm always trying to kind of, where can I tweak things? What can I do differently? Am I hitting on the right sorts of things to where you're trying to find the combination of keeping your audience that you already have happy, you know, and keep them coming back, those subscribers that are kind of loyal and watch your stuff. But then you're also needing to get it out to, you know, new people. You know, is it going to hit the algorithm to where new people are going to see it or not really? The ever-changing algorithm, we don't know, you know, what's what. So for me, I've just been trying to be consistent and then hoping that it does translate out. But one thing I will say is, even though, yes, there is a lot more sports card and collectibles content today than there was 3 years ago, it doesn't mean that you can't break in to the space. That's something that's kind of a fallacy. I think anyone that's thinking about starting something, they talk themselves out of it, where it's like, oh, you know, there's just so much sports card content out there, or guys or gals that are already doing the same thing that I would want to do. It doesn't matter. Honestly, it really, really doesn't matter. Yes, it is probably easier to, if you started 3 years ago, but you got to start somewhere. Yeah, really have to start somewhere. And I think that if we're looking at when YouTube really became very popular to mainstream, I would say it was actually 2018. I think we're only about 4 years in to people really using YouTube beyond how-to type stuff. If you look at a lot of the collectibles channels, Alpha Investments, he started in 2016. He has made extreme strides between 2018 and now. It's the same with a lot of the finance channels. A lot of them were making content like 2016, 17, and like boop, 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 kind of slowly moving along. And then 2018 hit, and all of a sudden it just kind of took off for a lot of those consistent channels that got in and were making good content. And so I think for a lot of subjects, it's all relative. You know, I think in 50 years, think about YouTube 50 years from now, to where there's been 50 years of people adding content to the site. Another 50 years of it. You know, and some people might say, oh, well, Google and YouTube aren't going to be around. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but something will be around. Something will be around in its place. And Google really does have a stranglehold on a lot of this stuff. So let's think of it from that standpoint of 50 years from now, somebody's, you know, our great grandkids are watching how much sports card content has now been made. You know, because you could say like, oh, there's just too much of it now. It's saturated. Well, how saturated is it going to be if we, you know, as we keep on going into the future? So there's never a better time than now to get started. And then just trying to, you know, if something's working, great. If something's not working, then making adjustments. And that's kind of really what the game is that I've found is, you know, it's not always going to be what you want to talk about and think is awesome. Yeah, you can absolutely make those types of videos. But I think that for growth, you also have to think about, what is the audience looking for? What do they want to see? Can I deliver them value in that way to where they're going to want to come back and watch more? And I would say it doesn't matter if we're talking about sports card content or if we're talking about any other subject. This is something where I do feel like we're still kind of in the infancy, the first inning, or whatever the hell we talk about on the sports card side with sports card content. We have seen a lot more come into the space. A lot of big companies are trying to make their own content and getting in. You see Golden, you see PWCC, you see a lot of big production stuff that's coming in, but it doesn't mean that there can't be more. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that that stuff is going to be popular with viewers. It doesn't guarantee anything. High production value does not guarantee viewership. Does it help? It's sure, absolutely it helps. But there's also a ton of content out there, not just sports card content, in other categories where a lot of money has been spent on a high production and it's totally bombed. It's no different than making a movie, making a blockbuster movie, or making a TV show and spending a lot of money on all the stuff and it fails. Just because you don't have a built out studio or whatever, don't let that stop you. I think that we need more voices. We need more channels. We need more stuff. I like seeing different topics out there. That's what gets my attention, is when I see content creators talking about various things. I'm like, whoa, that's a cool subject, hobby subject that hasn't really been touched on, or I've never really thought of it from that perspective yet. I like stuff like that because let's face it, yes, we're talking about cardboard. Sometimes it can get kind of drab. You do hear a lot of the channels talking about the same stuff. And for me included, I think about that too. Man, am I just talking about the same sort of topics all the time? I need to switch it up and have other things. It's all part of kind of building it out. And that's what makes this all so fun. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope that this was maybe a little bit helpful. I want it to be motivation really for people that are thinking about starting a channel, or they've started one, but they haven't been consistent with it. If it's something you're really passionate about, then make the time for it. Really make the time, because for me, it's just part of my hobby experience. It's an extension of it. I collect cards and all sorts of different collectibles, and I get to talk to you guys here, and that's fun. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.